Hi there folks, Borislav247 here with another Days Gone Challenge Mode video. And very surprisingly, it's about a particular challenge that I said I would probably never play again like this. What can I say folks? Just when I think that I'm out, they pull me back in. Okay, what has actually pulled me back into playing this again? Well, there's a few things, folks. And I'll start with the leaderboards for this challenge, because over the past month and a half, HOG WILD has probably been the most active of all the challenges in terms of the leaderboards changing. You've got two gents who are battling it out for the world number one and two spots that go by the name of Graysoul Z and Jamcar1. And then right behind them, you've got EK6420 and Freaker Fury, who are rapidly moving up the leaderboards. And I have just been watching all this. It has started to grate me just a little touch that I've not been doing anything about this, especially when I know the two scores that I had in both versions could potentially be beaten. But the biggest reason by far is all to do with the new location for getting the job done on HOG WILD. Because the area I previously had shown had a few problems. Although it was very good for scoring, it was extremely overcrowded with trees, which you could hit at any point. You were limited with the space that you had to work in with the bike, and a lot of downhill slopes that you're having to do drifts on could potentially take you out at any time. It really was a roller coaster ride when you were doing the challenge from the area that I had previously shown. However, this new area, and by the way, it's being used by 3 of the 4 players that I mentioned earlier on. EK6420, I know you've still been using my previous route, change to this one. When you see the benefits of this one, you will rapidly start going up the leaderboard, even faster than what you already have. But the benefits of this new area are this. You've got one of the largest ramps in the game to lift off with to get some really good airtime. You've got a huge landing area for where you're jumping down into. As well as this, you can maintain the multiplier when you know how to do it right for pretty much the entire run. You will only lose it at one point, and that is when you have to refuel. There's nothing you can do about that because refueling does take a little bit of time. And speaking of refueling, this brings me very nicely on to the next reason why I like this area so much. Because the petrol can that you need to go to in order to refuel the bike is in an area that if you approach it from a certain direction, it makes refueling far easier and far safer. Because I think one or two people that I've seen on their videos have missed a trick when it comes to the location of this petrol can. And I'm going to show exactly why. So, with all these advantages that are now available, and the fact that when you do one of these runs, and assuming that you get the refueling correct, you can pretty much guarantee that you can go on to do a full run every time. Yeah, I just had to come back to this, and I wanted to show exactly how you get over 700k every time if you do it in the way that I show. So on this video, for both versions, I'm going to be showing the start of the run, because the run route in order to get down to this area is quite important. If you do it in a certain way, you can save a bit on fuel by doing it. As well as this, I'm going to show how to maintain the multiplier. I will also go into detail about the refueling process, because I did say there is a way that if you go about doing it, it is a lot easier. And of course, I'm going to show the end game for both of these runs. And by the way, both of these runs currently are world number 1 runs. But as time goes on, I would imagine there'll be 1 or 2 of the gamers especially that'll have something to say about that. These may be beaten, but the score that I have for the original version especially, that one's going to be tough to beat, especially when you see how much fuel I had when I went to refuel, because I really did go as far on the limit as I possibly could. So anyways, I've waffled on enough, folks. Without any further ado, let's get to it. Right then, I'm going to start with the remastered version, folks, and my start route is always the same. This is a very unusual way of getting down to this location, and a huge shout out and thank you has to go to the gent that I seen showing this. Gracel Z, come as no surprise to most people. He's pretty innovative when it comes to the challenges, and this is another huge, not only time saver, but more to the point, it's a fuel saver. You get down to this location very quickly and can get to work. If you're following the route that it shows, you're actually going to use up quite a bit of fuel. But of course, if you're going to try and get down here that quickly, do watch with the first fall off on the cliff. You've got to get that landing right because it's very easy to crash the bike. It's always worth the risk because it's at the very beginning of the run, so if something does go wrong, you've not really wasted much time. But right now, the biggest problem I've got here are these bloody freakers. There's 4 of them. Once you've got them taken care of, then you can start to work on the multiplier. Right then, maintaining the multiplier. As you can see here, I'm 200,000 points into my run. Multiplier's sitting at over 700, and the bar that's above it is solid. And this is how you maintain it. At the very start here, this ramp, as soon as you come off it, hit the nitros, very important, but let go of it before you hit the ground. Then you're on to a drift in order to get yourself around, and you've always got to make sure that you've got enough speed in order to get that second jump to register. So again, just looking here every time, nice big drift around, looking to maintain that drift. Then from there, get a bit of speed, just hit the nitros as you're leaving that jump, and then another drift at the end there. And if you keep doing it like this, you have nothing to worry about. That multiplier will never go down. If you stop using the nitros in the air off the big jump, this one here, you will start to see that multiplier having problems. Now then, on to refueling. This is what scares people the most with this particular way of doing this challenge. And it's all about approaching this can from this side because you're actually going uphill. And because of that, you can use the circle button in order to slow the bike down. So you can safely bring the bike to a stop. You've got plenty of time to get the bike completely refueled. I think I just had 2% left there in the way of fuel. That's more than what I did in the original version. And from here, just get back on the bike and you've got a nice safe way in order to get out as well. Job done. Now, before I move on, I'm going to show another example of a much cleaner version of getting that refueling done, because that one there I was a little bit closer than I probably should have been. But again, it's moving up here. Because you're uphill here, by pressing the drift button, it acts as a brake. So you can safely get into a perfect position, get off, and get the bike refueled. This was a previous run, and as you can see, my score was nowhere near as good, but I had lost the multiplier on a few occasions on this one before I knew how to actually maintain the bloody thing properly. But that is how you correctly refuel. Right then, on to the end game of the remastered version, and right at this point, that's when the fuel tank turns to red. And that's why I wanted to show the end of this run from this point onwards, because although for the end game section, it's just a case of you keep going until the bike stops, you have an interesting dilemma before you refuel and you're in this position. Because the first time when your bike gets to this stage, you really do wonder, and it's a tricky decision. How long do you keep on going like this when the bike is in the red before moving to get the fuel? Now I can tell you for this remastered run, I made 3 full figure of 8s before heading over to the fuel. And I had 2% worth of fuel left on the bike. So you really are playing Russian roulette when you're when you get to this stage just before refueling. Jesus. How far do you want to go? Yeah, obviously you're going to get extra points, but at the same time you can run out of fuel. And trust me, on one of my runs that happened. I got greedy. I went for 5 full circuits here, and then just as I was getting close to where the petrol can was, all of a sudden the timer starts going down. And although my timer was on 20 seconds, yeah, by the time I got off the bike, it was sitting around 15, and I couldn't properly refuel the bike. So, yeah, it's risk versus reward for that particular section. But as you can see, you can keep going for quite some time in the red. I've not actually been counting here, but I think it's around about 7 or 8 full circuits that I managed to get in there. And there we go. That gives me a score of 744k. And let's just take a look at the leaderboard, how it is currently sitting. That's taken me right to the top, back to where I once was. Apologies to Grey Soul in particular and Jumpcar 1, because they've both been previous world number ones on this. But look at the scores that are coming in already, and these are only going to get higher, especially when one or two of these gamers start to really hone in on this challenge, which they will. Okay, moving on to the original version. Right then, for the original version, I do actually use a very slight variation when I start in getting down to where I need to be. And it's not much of a variation in all fairness, but it's just using that jump there as opposed to the other one that I used. Just sets you up a little bit better. And from here, just make sure to angle the bike alongside the contours of the ground there, because it is a slight downslope. As long as you do that, yeah, your bike will take a bit of damage, but it will be okay, especially as the rings that I'm using, which are Gear and Snake especially. Snake is the one that it repairs your bike when you're drifting. Gear is the one that when your bike is in the air, it uses less fuel. These are essential. I did put some text on at the beginning of the video about that, but I didn't actually mention it, so I thought I'll just mention it now, especially as this first section is, as before with the remastered version, you've got to get them bloody freakers out of the way, and then you can start to get to work. Right then, on to the refueling section, but unlike in the remastered version when I just went straight to it, I'm going to show you how long I actually kept going for in the red before going for the refuel. Because obviously this is going to be information that people want to know. So just following the figure of 8 as I'm always doing here, trying to get good drift there, good airtime there, and then use that area just to turn around again, holding on to that drift, then making sure I've got the speed there in order to get that second jump in. And as you can see, my multiplier is pretty bloody decent at this point, but it really is a case of, and at this point I'm only guessing as to how much of this I can get away with, because if I run out of fuel here, well, that's it, all this work has been for nothing. Good 40 or 50 minutes to get to this point as well, so yeah, you don't want to be throwing all that away. So this is it, I finally go, and I do make a slight mistake. I could have come off the bike well before I do here. I come up here and it doesn't quite slow down enough for me. I could have just pressed the square button to get off there and then, but I decide to go around here, and all of a sudden I can't hear the engine. I've got no fuel. I get off at this point, you can see it right here, there it is, 0%. I had completely run out of fucking fuel on this one. This run could have gone so badly wrong, but I get away with it, managed to get this bad boy completely refueled, get back in there, and go through that section, turn to my right, and then that just sets me up over here to get going again. That's the hardest part taken care of, and from here it's just working hard right through to the very end. And here we go. Again, I'm going to show it from when the tank turns from orange to red. That's it, done it right there. I'm in a really good position at this point. I've already passed the world's number 2 and world number 1 scores. I think the best on this particular version at the time that I was doing this was 708,000 points. So this one, it's just a case of just how much I can put onto this. And at this point, I'm very aware that I could potentially get 750,000. that is the target. And I'm just not sure if I've got enough to get this done. So I just keep doing what I'm doing. And what I do love about this this particular area here is you don't feel any pressure, because there's no chance that you have of coming off the bike. The likes of that drift section there, you're drifting uphill. And because you're drifting uphill, there's no chance of you getting thrown off the bike. And the bottom section where you're drifting, it's nice and flat. So all that there, you really can throw the bike around and it just stays. So I'm just going to town here, just trying with all my might to get as many points as possible, making sure I don't miss any of these smaller jumps. Because as I mentioned before, it will happen. There'll be times when you do that smaller jump and just don't get the points. So you just have to accept it will sometimes happen. But at this point now, it really is a case of, am I going to get it? So I know if I can just get round to that big ramp one more time, I will get it. Because, yep, I get that jump in there. And, 1,000 points sitting because I didn't quite have enough there. But I do make the 750k. 750,000 on this bloody challenge is insanely good, even if I do say so myself. So for the very last time, let's take a look at the current leaderboard as it is now. And there we go. Again, the same names, although there is a new one there, Alert Logician 4, with a very impressive score indeed, as well as all the rest of the killers up there. But that is it. That is my Hog Wild experience over for a while. I'm never going to say never. You never know. But that's it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.